Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the August regular board meeting of the Santa Cruz County Board of Education. I would like to officially commence with a call to order, please. The roll call, please. Thank you.
Trustee Acosta? Trustee Estrada?
Here.
Trustee Nichols? Trustee Sanchez?
Here.
Trustee Van Allen? Trustee Williams? And President Roth.
Thank you. We did receive a request from President Roth if she could join remotely. She wasn't feeling great and decided to stay home for her and everyone else's health. So now we will be voting on whether we will approve a remote participation by President Roth. She's not on currently, but if she does, oh, she is on. Okay, perfect. So she is on. Perfect. First and second. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Perfect. Passes unanimously. Welcome, Sue. Good to have you with us. Now we will do the Pledge of Allegiance with Superintendent Sabah.
If you are able to please stand, face the flag, ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Now, moving along, we have the approval of the agenda. So moved. Thank you. Is there a second? Second. Perfect. First and second. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Perfect. Passes. I'm sorry. If we have somebody online, we have to do roll call or no? Trustee, that is.
Yes, Ms. Roth is a official, oh no, it's not required, as long as we are able to verify with her unmuting and giving her vote or raising her hand.
Okay. Thanks for the clarification. Perfect. So then it passes. All right, we're in item number 4, public comment. This is an opportunity for anyone from the public to address the board on any items that are not included in today's agenda. The board will recognize any member of the audience not previously placed on the agenda and will be given up to 3 minutes to address the board. Is there anyone that would like to make a public comment?
Yes, we have a few requests for public comment.
Vice President Sanchez, we have 3 requests for public comment. The first is from Daniel Esqueda, a student at PVUSD.
Give us just one moment, Danielle, as we set the clock for you.
Greetings, board members and Superintendent Sabah. On July 18th, I stood before you presenting a speech with the Student Trustee Academy. I delivered my speech in hopes of expressing my concern about student trustees not being treated fairly on boards. When the certificate presentation occurred, I was singled out in front of the rest of my peers by Andres Ortiz and Superintendent Sabah. Not only was Andres Ortiz's statement to the board about my participation misleading and untrue, but it also hurt me as an individual. It is time that I speak my truth. I applied for the academy once I found out that I'd be serving as a student trustee in May of this year. On my application, I stated that I would be out of town on a school educational trip from June 17th to July 1st. I was still accepted into the academy. I then reached out to confirm my participation, and once again, Andres Ortiz let me know. Andres Ortiz knew that I would be on a school trip for the vast majority of the meetings. I was told by Andres that we cannot provide you with an iPad at the end of the program as you will be missing the vast majority of the sessions. I accepted this and chose to remain in the academy. Never once was I told that I would not be receiving a certificate and instead singled out from the rest of the group. Once I had returned from my school trip, I reached out to Andres Ortiz to schedule a Zoom meeting to ensure that I'd be caught up with everything. We set a date and a time for the Zoom. When the day came, I was left waiting on the Zoom meeting for 30 minutes. Andres Ortiz had claimed his Zoom account never linked to his Google Calendar. We rescheduled the Zoom meeting and it finally took place. I then began to attend the in-person meetings the week of July 8th. From the moment I stepped in, I was very active in group discussions and eager to learn more. Leading up to the board presentation, I felt excited to speak in front of the board for the very first time. That experience was crushed after I was publicly called out by Andres Ortiz. My speech focused on the student board members being treated unfairly, and what occurred on July 18th was the exemplification of that. I left the board meeting with tears rolling down my face. I wish no student will ever have to experience this by Andres Ortiz and Superintendent Sabah ever again. It then begs the question of why Andres Ortiz did not inform me about the certificate. Mr. Ortiz informed me multiple instances about the iPad, but never once informed me about the certificate proceedings. I arrived at the board meeting on July 18th, 45 minutes early. Andres walked my mother and I to the technology room, and I was still never informed. The lack of consideration and the lack of empathy is quite concerning, and this is not just an issue with the student trustee. How would you feel as board members to be publicly excluded and singled out without your previous knowledge? Superintendent Sabah, how could you not consider this to be upsetting? At the end of the day, Andres stated that a collective decision was made to not award me with a certificate of completion. A few days following the meeting, after I had expressed my discomfort to Andres, prompting Superintendent Sabah to reach out in hopes of having a phone call. On the call, Superintendent Sabah stated it was never their intent to hurt my feelings, but a choice was made by Andres to not inform me about the certificate ceremony. He had a choice to not tell me about anything related to their certificate presentation. That was a choice. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Esqueda, correct?
Vice President Sanchez, we have an additional request for comment from Mindy Esqueda.
Good afternoon, members of the board and Superintendent Sabah. My name is Mindy Esqueda. I want to thank Dr. Sabah and his team for implementing the Student Trustee Academy and the fantastic leadership opportunity. I'm here, however, to address what happened at the board meeting last month during the Academy presentation. I encourage you all to reflect on that certificate proceeding and imagine you are an upcoming student trustee speaking for your very first time at a public county meeting. Without your knowledge, you are publicly singled out and excluded while all your peers are recognized with certificates. Mr. Ortiz told the board that afternoon that Daniel joined the academy on the last week, which was misleading and actually untrue. When Daniel applied for the academy in May, he noted his conflict due to the previously planned EF educational tour with Aptos High. Upon acceptance into the academy, he even reached out to Mr. Ortiz to coordinate obtaining the material that he would miss. After being given access to the Google Classroom, he worked on the assignments while he was away. In addition, upon his return, Daniel took time off work to attend a Zoom meeting he had requested with Mr. Ortiz to catch up. Daniel waited 30 minutes. Mr. Ortiz never showed up. As a result, a second Zoom meeting had to be scheduled, which Daniel also took time off to attend. I believe we should hold ourselves just as accountable as our youth. Beyond being his parent, I speak to you today as a fellow government employee and one who agreed with the Academy's choice of topics to be presented by the students. Ironically, the one chosen by Daniel to present, the findings of the case study on the treatment of the student trustees in Santa Cruz County, to which Trustee Van Allen responded in agreement and added that that would not likely have been the case had your board been included in the study. But it did happen here just last month. I strongly recommend that any and all staff that work with our youth choose positive, reinforcing ways of respecting students, especially those going out of their way to be involved. The Academy accepted Daniel knowing he would have to miss the first few sessions. If they wanted to honor Daniel and his efforts, as Mr. Ortiz had said, why not include him with a certificate of participation instead? At the very least, Daniel should have been informed the Academy's plan to exclude him from the presentation. If the Academy agrees so much with the case study, why didn't they show consideration to their own student participation? And why is it that a student trustee has shown more accountability and communication skills than those who are supposed to be modeling and teaching those skills? I came here last month so excited to see Daniel present at his first ever board meeting. I had no idea I would watch him publicly excluded from his peers and made to feel exactly how the case study pointed out. The Academy had also chosen the topic of the case study recommendations to be presented by the students. Please add what happened last month at the meeting here to the list of recommendations to never do to a student trustee again. Thank you.
Thank you. So this being public comment, we typically don't respond to when the board is being addressed. But I am going to mention that I think I am confident in saying that we are saddened in the way that you felt with this situation, and again, I don't think this is the right place to speak more in those details. But I'm under the understanding that Mr. Ortiz has reached out, and you guys have talked further about the situation. And I believe we have one more.
Yes, Vice President Sanchez, we have one additional request for public comment from Greg Larson.
Madam President, on the screen, trustees and Superintendent Sabah, it's great to be here before you far earlier than I ever thought would happen. But the way yesterday's election unfolded with nobody else filing to take over from your esteemed colleague, Trustee Nichols in Trustee Area 3, I have been designated in lieu of the election as the successor trustee come December. And I just wanted to come and introduce myself and to say I look forward to working with all of you. And to the extent permissible under this agency's application of Brown Act rules, I'd like to meet with each of you just to get acquainted, not to discuss Office of Education business, which I believe is permissible. Fortunately, most of my career has been on the other side of the dais as staff supporting elected officials. So it'll be interesting and fascinating for me to join you on the dais, serving our students and community throughout Santa Cruz County. And that's what I look forward to doing with each of you. So thank you for your time. You have a full agenda. I hope to attend the rest of your meetings before I take my oath of office, just to learn and make my transition to joining with you that much quicker. So thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else that would like to make a public comment?
There are no additional requests for public comment, Vice President Sanchez.
Okay. Moving along, item number 5, consent agenda. Any questions or comments there? I do want to specifically thank the donors that help make our programs a success.
Move adoption of the consent agenda with those.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Perfect. Correspondence, did we receive any correspondence within the last 72 hours?
We have not received any correspondence, Vice President Sanchez.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Moving on, now we have a new business and action items. We'll start with Prop 28, Arts and Music in Schools, the annual report. And for this one, we have our Superintendent Sabah and Denise Guerra Sampson.
Yes, thank you so much, Vice President Sanchez. It's a pleasure to welcome one of our executive directors, Denise Guerra Sampson, who, as you know, oversees our Career Advancement Charter and also our Career and Adult Learning Services. Prop 28 is a wonderful opportunity for our schools across the state to implement arts and art education and music programs. And we're here to provide a report about the implementation of the program proposition that was approved in 2020. And I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Sampson at this point.
Thank you, Dr. Sabah. Good afternoon, everyone.
Today I have for you a report that was, we had to submit. It does reflect zero spending for the fiscal year that just finished, as we intend to use the funds. It's about $20,000 this school year. So I will go, oops, sorry
Down.
about that. Okay. So we are required to have this annual report approved and then submitted this portal. The information is there as follows. And as I just said in my introduction, no programs were funded this year. However, we want to use that money this year for arts enrichment for adult learners in the Career Advancement Charter. This is the draft for approval. You'll see that there's very little information here. It just had to be turned in. So everything is indicated at zero, and the report will look different, obviously, a year from now when we're able to put those expenditures and the required amount in. But to be compliant, we did turn this in on time, just at the end of last month. How we are deciding how to use those funds, definitely wanted to have our student input, so went to our student advisory through the LCAP process primarily. We also have different ways of measuring student feedback, both quantitative and qualitative. I'm having a hard time seeing those slides, I apologize. And we're leaning on our strengths with community partners to figure out how to best use these funds. We have many different relationships with artists in the community and partnering up with our alternative education colleagues. And we're thinking of either using some of our money to co-fund an artist that could provide most of the instruction in alternative ed and a smaller amount for CAC. Our students are on campus only for a few hours in the evening. And so that's one possibility. Or we'll take the amount, which really isn't very much when you're thinking about personnel, and contract with someone to do limited instruction throughout the year. So students have given us feedback that they want increased access to enrichment opportunities, including art. So some of the identified needs are arts instruction, enrichment, combined with pro-social opportunities. So we're talking about like mural projects or maybe digital photography, things like that. And then some of the needs would include materials and supplies. The amount is there, $19,543, including the indirect costs. So you can see that, again, it's just under $20,000. So that's what we'll be reporting about to you at the end of this school year. And now I request approval from you all for our Prop 28 annual report with the intention of using that money in this school year.
Thank you. Any questions, comments from the board?
A follow-up question?
Sure.
So the $19,000, you mentioned that the report from this current closing school year, there was nothing to report. So is the 19,000 a carryover, or is that new monies, and like how is that?
It is carryover, yeah. So we did, because we didn't spend it, we're going to use it this year, but I don't think we're getting
So
any
what's
more.
being allocated? Yeah, what's being allocated for this school year then?
That amount. There's no more.
Okay,
That's
so
it.
it's 19,000 over a period of 2 school years.
Correct.
Is that budget constraint?
So
No?
Prop 28 is actually going to be an ongoing
Well,
funding
yeah.
source. So
Oh.
we'll be, yeah,
Yeah.
so this is what's exciting about Prop 28 is that it's funding that is going to be continuous.
So I'll allocate 1 year and then it'll be used the next year. So this is going to be the first year that we are able to use funds.
Well, we could have spent it in 23, 24,
Yeah.
but we didn't. And so the funding that wasn't spent will now be added to the new allocation that
Once
we'll be
we
getting
know
for
what that
24,
is.
25, and you'll be receiving a plan about those funds and how they'll be spent. Since it is a relatively small allocation, this would allow us to potentially use it. The majority of the funds, however, are designated for use for staffing. And so figuring out how to use such a small allocation for staffing is going to be a bit of a challenge, but it could be a point, 0.2 or point something of an FTE. The idea is that we're making this an institutionalized part of our services to our students.
So to clarify, it's 10,000 a year that we can expect?
I believe this allocation of the report was our 23-24 allocation, and so we're going to be receiving every year. They're going to apply the formula and give us a new allocation, and so it'll be
The budget.
Any other questions or comments? And Ellen? No?
A motion to approve, and I'm really glad to see us moving and getting the program into everything, given the limit.
Thank you, Trustee Van Allen. Thank you for the question and apologize for the confusion, Trustee Williams.
Maurice,
Yeah.
I second.
You have a first and second. All those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, 7.2 now. We're going to look at Resolution 24-28 in support of the City of Santa Cruz's sugar sweetened beverage tax proposal. We have Superintendent Sabah and a guest as well today, Martin Watkins.
Yes, thank you so much. If you recall, in our last board meeting, we discussed this resolution. This is something that I personally am very grateful to the leadership of the City of Santa Cruz and to Shebra Kalantari-Johnson and to Martina Watkins specifically for leading this effort to establish a sugar sweetened beverage tax. And we do have two members of the City Council who are going to be presenting some information and be able to present and respond to any of your questions. So I'd like to welcome Martina Watkins and Shebra Kalantari-Johnson and thank them for their presence today. And we're going to
Thank you so much for that welcome. And thank you all for the work that you do. And we really appreciate you agendizing us a second time. We recognize that you have a lot on your plates. And so we appreciate the opportunity to review these slides with you. We're aware that you've seen some of them and then answer your questions as best as we can.
You're going to push down.
Push down. You're going to see my tech skills are amazing right now. Okay. Okay, I'll just start by saying that before I became a council member, I worked some decades ago at United Way of Santa Cruz County, and I was the director of community organizing there. And one of the things that I was working on was the Go for Health Collaborative. The purpose of the Go for Health Collaborative was to address the increasing rates of childhood obesity that we had in our community, much higher rates than you would see in other parts of the state. So this has been an issue that I've cared about for decades now in our community. And 15, 20 years ago, this policy that we're now pursuing was a best practice policy that we had talked about. So I'm excited to be a part of it now and hope to be in partnership with the County Office of Ed. Oops. I told you I have amazing tech skills. All right, I'm going to let Martine Watkins share a little bit of the background and context. And again, we'll kind of be brief about some of these.
Sure. Yeah. Nope. Thank you, Shebra. Oops, sorry. Good afternoon, trustees, Superintendent Sabah. It's a pleasure to be here. As Councilmember Kalantari-Johnson mentioned, we really appreciate you taking the time to hear the item again and allowing us to speak to it. We're really excited to be here, to be in this place at this moment, because we've tried before at the City of Santa Cruz to pursue a sugar sweetened beverage tax. This is just a little bit of the history and context on this slide. Essentially, what we found is that countries throughout our globe have now enacted sugar sweetened beverage taxes and have found great success. And in 2018, the City of Santa Cruz was looking to follow suit, knowing that there are great health outcomes associated with this. What happened was there was a negotiation at the state level, essentially, that led to a preemption legislation to move forward, which preempted local jurisdictions like the City of Santa Cruz and other charter cities from being able to pursue sugar sweetened beverage taxes. So we were forced to remove the item from the ballot. What has ensued since is some legal questions and processes that ultimately ruled in favor of the city of Santa Cruz and other charter cities, saying that preemption was an overstep by the state and that the penalty provision was not valid. They ruled on the penalty provision. The preemption is still on the books, and that's part of the challenge that will probably ensue from here if this were to be successful. And I could go into that, but I know I want to be brief, so I'll leave it there. Ourselves at the city of Santa Cruz and Berkeley are pursuing it this round, and we're hopeful that we can answer any questions you might have, as we know this is going to really benefit a lot of our youth. So I'll leave it there and hand it back.
Thank you. Yeah, maybe you'll have better luck. Oh, there we go. I think it was just a little slow. I'll just leave this here. I know you've seen this slide. Picture says a million words, right? And so we've seen this in different forms, and this is what the young people that you all serve, that we all care about, are putting in their bodies. We can go to the next slide. Again, I won't go through all of these statistics, but I will just focus in on one of them. I have two teenagers. I have a 14-year-old and 16-year-old, and this one caught my eyes. 2 in 3 California teens drink at least one soda daily. So drinking is happening. Soda drinking is happening. There's significant health impacts, and specific to our most vulnerable populations, including young people in our community. And here in Santa Cruz, we see, as I said earlier, we see childhood obesity. We see increases among our Latino population, and the Dignity Health's CHNA report, the last report they did, is showing that our obesity rates overall are increasing. So we're not exempt here in the city and the county of Santa Cruz. Now I'm gonna ping pong it back to you to talk a little bit about the measure.
Sure. I'm happy to. So as you can see on your slide, this is the language that has been approved by the City Council to be placed on the November ballot. It received unanimous approval by the council. It took about a year of work on behalf of the ad hoc committee, which comprised of myself, Councilmember Kalantari Johnson, and Councilmember Bruner, to bring this to a place where we were able to get the council's full support. And if you live in the city of Santa Cruz, you will be seeing this on your ballot, and we hope that you will be voting in support. And we would be honored and encouraged if this was something that also the Board of Trustees would. And we're here for any questions.
There's
you.
more slides, but I think we'll pause there and give you all a chance to.
Okay, perfect. Questions from the board?
I was wondering if
Williams?
we could address some of the questions that we had at the last meeting, which being back to answer some of those questions. And the only one that I could remember, we were talking about exemptions because we're talking small businesses. So there was the question of the definition of the exemption of quote unquote small businesses. What does that mean? And who does that include?
Sure. Small business is defined as any business that makes under $500,000 in revenue. So that's the definition of small business. And we don't have the concrete data yet, but the back of the napkin data shows us about 2/3 of our businesses fall into that. But we'll get the accurate data soon. So we're really talking about larger organizations like the Warriors or Boardwalk, just to name a couple.
And markets,
Yep.
supermarkets,
Mhm,
etc.
Costco. That's right.
Anybody else?
Yeah.
Ms. Estrada?
Going off of that, so franchises, how does that fit in with the definition of small businesses? Like franchise owners of like a 7-Eleven, is that considered a small business, or is that?
That's a good question that I think we'll have to follow up on. But my understanding is if that one entity, their individual revenue is under 500,000, they would be exempt.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. And your questions help us understand what we don't yet know. So like, it's helpful to hear your questions. Sometimes you'll ask questions, we're going around and talking to a lot of different organizations and groups. Sometimes you'll ask questions and we'll go to the experts and we'll get those answers. So if we don't know them, we'll find out for you.
I could ask a question. So the theory of action, if you would, is that the cost is going to go up, and so folks are going to be choosing alternative. What has the research shown the effect is of that of the fact that because the cost is going to go up, people are going to choose not to do this? What are the health benefits of that have been shown in other communities that have done?
Yeah, thank you for that, Superintendent Sabah. We actually paused on the perfect slide that responds to part of your question. So the theory behind this is that we are making the healthy choice the easy choice for folks. Right now, soda can be more expensive than water. So other communities here in California and across the world and across the state that have done this have seen an increase. So it's a tax on the point of distribution, but we expect and have seen that gets passed on to the consumer. And then what that does is that shifts the consumer behavior, just like tobacco. We're following basically the same playbook as tobacco that's been successful. So the cost of soda goes up, consumers will purchase something different from that same store. Water, we've seen in some communities that soda purchase goes down, water purchase goes up. So therefore, soda consumption goes down, water consumption goes up. So the city of, let me look at my notes here. The city of Berkeley was showing 9.6%, oh, yours is bigger, 9.6% decrease in soda consumption. And then a study by UC Berkeley across 5 cities across the country showed a 33% reduction in soda consumption. And we have now just heard this last week that there's data that's showing those long-term outcomes that we're really interested in. You know, childhood obesities, type 2 diabetes, chronic cardiovascular disease, dental cavities. So I don't have those numbers. The research just came out, but we can get them to you. So those are that's a big why for us. We know that the disparity is here in our community and the health impacts are here, and we've seen it go in the direction that we want our community to go in. So we're pursuing this. That's one of our big whys. And the other big why,
In terms of the revenue. Oh, of course. And then I'll just add really briefly about also, I think we talk about the immediate impacts in addition to what Shebra was sharing, but also the long-term impacts of diabetes and heart disease, and on the individual, on their family, and also on our healthcare. And there are studies starting to come out also in terms of how those are cost savings in terms of the broader system. And the community advisory and the community investment is the exciting part also. And following similar to our Santa Cruz City Children's Fund, we have a community advisory board for that, comprised of experts in the area, advising the city council on how to best use the fund in alignment with the goals. Excuse me. And so this is designed in a very similar way. So an advisory board will be established to oversee the funds, to make recommendations to the full council for approval to be reinvested in health and wellness in our community.
Okay. I have a question, comment as well. Can we go back to the slide with the sugar cubes? And while we get there, I just want to, in full transparency, say that I work in food manufacturing. So I will be abstaining from the vote, but I do have some comments and questions that I do want to bring up. The slide that we saw with the sugar cubes, I don't understand why it's included. I get the idea behind it, saying that there's some sugary drinks, there's some drinks that have more sugar than others, but the way that this tax is written, if you have a certain amount of sugar, then you have to pay a tax regardless of how much sugar there is, right? So all these drinks up here would be taxed equally, right? The same. You wouldn't have, more for Mountain Dew and less for vitamin water, despite that fact that it's less than half, right? So that's just one of the things that stood out to me in terms of encouraging healthier behavior, healthier choices in the store, is to kind of, because I mean, Mountain Dew has a lot of sugar. I think we can all agree on that. That's just one of the comments that I have.
I'm
For now.
happy to speak to
Yeah,
that.
go
if you
ahead.
like. I was just going to say, one of the things that we often, I was just listening to something talking about that it's often identified by grams in terms of how many grams of sugar, right? But conceptually, do people really often kind of equate what that actually means? And part of what this slide is offering is a sort of a relative scale of sugar in beverages, which goes to another component that's associated with this measure, which is educating the community and the population on what they're drinking and how much sugar it has in it. And hopefully by doing so, making, thoughtful choices around what to choose to drink. And then in terms of the cost, you're absolutely right. Regardless if it reaches a threshold of additional added sugar, it will be taxed at the distribution level, and it will be product based. So for example, if one store has one or two products that actually fit that criteria, it will only be those two products that are essentially at the distributional level taxed.
Okay, thank you. Alan?
Well, as I said last time, I have a lot of personal experience with this and with working with others, and reducing sugar is a major health gain. Had that experience in my own life. So I strongly support this. I've also been through the battles at the state level. Senator Monning.
Who has endorsed
A
us,
few
by the way?
bruises, yeah. Anyway, so I would be happy to make the motion to approve this resolution, and,
I'm sorry, are we done with the presentation?
oh, I'm sorry.
But we're happy to share any more if you'd like. We know you had the presentation already, so we wanted to keep this one.
I thought we were done with questions.
A question?
Kind of just directing towards kind of what you were kind of going towards was the revenue and where that's going to be spent. Just kind of would love to hear, you talk about that. And yeah, specifically, I know there's going to be a community advisory to guide where the money's spent, and want to hear a little bit about how that works.
Sure. I'm happy to speak to some examples that I could foresee the dollars going towards. Certainly that will be at the discretion of the advisory community and the needs and associated recommendations to the full council for approval. But we do a number of things that we offer in terms of health-related investments, like scholarships for our parks and recreation programs, improvements of those programs. It could include water stations, for example, within city facilities. We already fund and support our farmers market, so it could be providing more vouchers for healthier foods. It could fit other types of uses, safe routes to schools, other parks improvements, such like that align with the health and wellness and well-being, and hopefully through an equity lens, really looking at who is needing the services and the supports associated with the tax and with the needs. So that's the hope. And the body is comprised of sectors, which are different professionals, and I can list the folks that we have outlined. I don't want to misspeak. Okay,
That's
great.
really small.
Yeah, I'm happy to do it. I couldn't read that.
So we have proposed a 5 to 9 person oversight advisory body that would consist of Parks and Rec commissioners, one council member, community members from the healthcare sector, from the education sector, and youth organizations. I don't know why I printed it this small.
My eyes have gone.
Okay, now that my mic's on, thank you.
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
I wanted to share that Shebra Kalantari Johnson presented to the pediatric work group on Wednesday, and I'm a part of that group. And this is representatives from most of the medical organizations and FQHCs in our community, and there was unanimous support for this. In fact, Cal Gordon, who's the assistant to the health officer for Santa Cruz County, said this is a no-brainer. The impact of this, both on the negative side with sugars and the impact of implementing this kind of system can be life-changing for many of our communities, and especially our children. And so I did want to share that this is something that our medical community and locally is standing behind.
Thank you for sharing that, Superintendent Saban. If I may just add, we also have the Santa Cruz County Medical Association, Sutter Health, Dientes, and a number of other medical entities that we're presenting to. And Board Member Van Allen, you mentioned Senator Monning. He's endorsed us, and we've got some other state legislators that we're talking to soon.
Do you have any more slides?
No.
That's it? Okay, okay, sorry. Just wanted to make sure.
I will put it on the last slide. We don't need to speak to it, but it's just an invitation for partnership. But of course, I can't get it to work. So please proceed.
Any last questions or comments? Another thing that I will just mention, something that does concern me. Well, first of all, as someone who works in the industry, will say that there is product that has way too much sugar. Unfortunately, it's addicting. People love sugar, and the food companies found that out, and they just loaded it so that people can continue to buy their products. So I think it's good, I think we have to limit our sugar consumption. We are, as a nation, up there when it comes to, obesity. That's unfortunate. I think that, more work definitely needs to be done. I think one of my concerns is that the alternative to sugar or less sugar is artificial sweeteners. Those aren't necessarily that healthy for you either. So
Let's proceed with that next.
so we'll do that next year, right? We'll do that at the next election. So this came to us last month. We had a conversation. There was a couple of questions, a couple of items that we weren't so sure about. My concern personally was the fact that, like I mentioned, there was it's not incremental, the tax, right? If you have sugar, then you get taxed for it. And there's a lot of products in the stores, a lot of beverages that have sugars. But what I did is I reached out to the city of Santa Cruz and to get a little bit more information. Got some of the verbiage, got some of the language there. And despite the fact that I'm not going to, vote on this, I do think there's enough there to support it. And I think a big reason to that is just because there is an exemption. There was a slide on the exemption, and I don't think it was there originally when we did the first presentation, but low calorie. So there is, some sugar, just not too much, right? Not excessive amount. I believe it was 40 calories per serving, right? So I think it's like with everything, moderation. I like my coffee with a little bit of sugar, not too much, but just to keep it under 40 calories, I think is good. So that's kind of where I stand. Just wanted to make that clear, but again, clarify that I will not be voting on this measure.
Board Member Sanchez, will we invite continued partnership after today's meeting, and would like to hear from all of you, but you in particular, being from the food industry, I would personally be interested in having a follow-up conversation with you, because we're not thinking about the same things that you are as public health professionals and city council members. So we invite the partnership with all of you, and in particular, I would like to have a follow-up conversation if you're open to
Sure.
that.
Yeah, of course. All right. Any last questions or comments? If not, is there a motion?
Move resolution 24-28, support of the city of Santa Cruz.
Perfect. And is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. And because this is a resolution, can we get a roll call vote, please?
Trustee Estrada,
Yes.
Trustee Van Allen.
Aye.
Trustee Williams. Vice President Sanchez
Abstain.
and President Roth.
Yeah, excuse me. Yes.
We can't hear you, President Roth.
Yes.
It's on our side. If you could raise your hand if you are in.
Okay, there we go.
There we go.
Okay.
We'll accept that as an aye.
All right. Thank you. Thanks for taking the time.
Thank
Really
you so
appreciate you guys
much.
coming here.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
We'll be in
Thank you.
touch.
Of course. Okay, moving on, we have a 7.3, approval of resolution 24-29, Hispanic Heritage Month. And for this one, we don't have Trustee Nichols with us. Is there anybody else on the committee that would like to talk on the
Had
resolution?
a comment on the.
Okay. Do we want to present the resolution?
Be happy to speak to it if you'd
Okay.
like me to.
Yeah, let's present first.
So this is a tradition for this board to pass a resolution for Hispanic Heritage Month. This is an annual, there's always a theme that comes with this. It is really about celebrating and uplifting the contribution of our Latino, our Latinx, our also previously we referred to them as Hispanic community members. And this goes back to a commemoration that started in 1968 and has been continuing to grow, and something that many members of our community have, or many members of the school communities across our state celebrate, especially in Santa Cruz County, where, as it says on the resolution, over 58% of our community and our student population come from a Latinx background. And this is really in recognition of the contribution and the richness that the Latinx community offers to our school community and to our community at large. And the theme is that for 2024 is Pioneers of Change Shaping the Future Together.
Nice, thank you. Van Allen, you had some questions, comments?
Well, I certainly support the resolution, and I just wanted to point out that the very last whereas clause is a little refers to something that happened in 2021. So I have just alternative like to suggest. Dr. Sabat, tell me if I'm correct in what this says. Whereas the Santa Cruz County Board of Education supports preparation, or maybe it's preparations, by the Santa Cruz County Office of Education to meet California's historic requirement for all high school students to complete an ethnic studies course for earning their diploma starting in the 20-30 school year. So I'm substituting that language, but are we doing that? Am I correct in saying we're preparing for that?
I actually, as I'm looking, there's a bill currently that is being discussed that is going to alter some requirements for ethnic studies. So if it's not too much to ask, I would ask your consideration for us to remove that whereas.
Remove that whole.
Just because I think that, there have been we anticipate some changes in terms of the implementation of ethnic studies and the timelines. We think ethnic studies is extremely important, and we absolutely support its implementation, but perhaps discussing the timelines may not be, it may date this resolution.
Well, I would amend my motion to be that we adopt the resolution, but get that particular whereas clause just because it's.
Thank you.
So for clarification, by removing the last whereas where we're identifying it as being a requirement of graduation, not necessarily content of the material, but just it being there, we're just going to remove it all together so that there's not going to be anything that says that our resolution will include it.
Correct. It would not discuss the requirement of ethnic studies in terms of the timeline.
Because that law may change.
Correct.
Would it be amended just to not include the school year in which it would be? Okay.
Any other questions or comments? I have a question. It's slightly off topic, but why is it September 15th to October 15th? I know September 15th itself is an important date, but why it's there?
I think historically it was connected to the 16 de septiembre, the 16th of September, which is celebration of the Independence Day of Mexico. Grito de place at midnight on September. I believe that's the history.
That's my memory from '68. Actually, I was in LA, and
I'll take it.
Unlike Trustee Van Allen, I unfortunately was not there.
It's kind of unique, right?
Showing my age.
Nice. Sounds like fun times. Sad I wasn't born for it. Any other questions or comments? No? there a motion? Okay,
Did I make a motion? My motion is to adopt it, but without that last clause.
last whereas. Okay, is there a second? Perfect. Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Trustee Estrada,
Yes.
Trustee Van Allen, Trustee Williams, Vice President Sanchez,
Yes.
President Roth.
Yes. Can you hear me?
We still can't hear you. There you go.
Okay.
We see your hand raised and we'll accept that as an aye. Thank
Okay.
you.
Don't know where my sound is.
Okay. Moving on, next resolution 24-31, Proposition 2, kindergarten through grade 12 schools and local community college, public education facilities, modernization, repair, and safety bond act of 2024. And for this one, we have Superintendent Sabah as our presenter.
I believe that we skipped 7.4, the
Oh, yes,
Suicide
sorry.
Prevention Month.
Thank you. But before that, Resolution 24-3, National Suicide Prevention Month. And also we have Superintendent Sabah for this one.
Yes, as you know, mental health and schools are something that are near and dear to many of us as we become more aware of the struggles of our students and our community. You have probably heard Assemblymember Gail Pellerin speak about the importance of bringing awareness and resources to the community to prevent suicide locally in our community and across our country. The resolution speaks to the importance of bringing awareness and prevention. Suicide is the 9th leading cause of death in the United States and the 2nd leading cause of death among individuals between the ages of 10 and 34. And it is something that we work extremely hard to support our community and bring awareness not only in our schools and our classrooms, but also to our homes and our families. And so this resolution is about uplifting this work for prevention and really reinforces our work to create systems of care that will prevent suicides.
Thank you. Questions or comments? No. Trustee Roth, do you have a comment? No? Okay.
No, I'm just trying. Can you hear me yet?
See that
No.
The hand is risen, so.
Okay,
just
I
wanted to-
will lower the hand.
Perfect. Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution 2430.
Perfect. First and a second, can we get a roll call vote, please?
Trustee Estrada,
yes.
Trustee Van Allen, Trustee Williams,
Aye.
Vice President Sanchez,
Yes.
President Roth, please signal by raising your hand.
Perfect.
And
Passes
with
unanimously.
apologies, can we clarify for the record the motion and the second? Thank you.
Thank you. Now we move on to 7.5, Resolution 24-31, Prop 2, kindergarten through 12th grade local community, college, public education facilities, modernization, repair, and safety bond acts of 2024. Dr. Sabah?
Yes, thank you. I wanted to just share some information about Proposition 2 and this bond that would have an important impact on all schools, but specifically county offices of education. This proposition would set aside $10 billion in funding, including $8.5 billion for K-12 or TK-12 schools for their school facility program. This is about ensuring equal access to modern learning environments, focusing on educationally appropriate, safe, and modern spaces for all students, and including those students served by county offices of education. As you know, we serve some of the most vulnerable and students in our county, and we offer very specialized student populations, and we need, in many cases, specialized kinds of facilities for those students, including smaller class size and extra support. Unlike all school districts, county offices of education are prohibited from having their own bond measures. And so we rely on these state infrastructure bond options to allow us to obtain facilities that to continue to modernize and build the appropriate facilities for our community. There are also 10% of the funds of the $8.5 billion are set aside for small districts and county offices of education. And it ensures that the construction funds remain available after project design is completed. And so there is a bit of a lengthy period for us to be able to access these funds, but it offers us a guarantee that once we get through that long list waiting, we would be able to get the funding and I'll give you an example. Sequoia School High School was built with these funds. It took us a while to get the funding, but we were able to build Sequoia School because of these kinds of funds. And so we hope you would consider approval for a resolution in support of Prop 2.
Questions, comments? And I think it makes a huge difference. I think COEs, for the most part, they tend to share resources with local school districts for some of their programs. But to have an actual facility, a site that you can call your own, I think it helps build school spirit. I don't know if that's the right word, but pride in your own school, right? It's not portable that we rent from the district, right? It's an actual COE school. So I know there's challenges, specifically for the county to be able to, county offices of education, to receive funding, and anything that helps us with just kind of providing that space of belonging, space of acceptance, I think definitely goes a long way.
I would reiterate that that is paramount, is us creating spaces, typically in COE. And bonus provides jobs, and no extra taxes, and our students.
I second everything that has already been said.
Nice. Well, I'm looking for a first.
I'll do it first.
I'll second.
Then you'll second. Perfect. Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Trustee Estrada,
Yes.
Trustee Van Allen, Trustee Williams, Vice President Sanchez,
Yes.
President Roth.
And next on the last resolution that we have is 24-32 to bring back retired employees per Government Code Section 7522.56 and 21229. And with us, we have Ms. Olker that'll talk on the topic.
Good evening. So I'm here to talk about the topic of bringing back a retiree. So we had a person who retired, Jody Belgard, had been with us for over 30 years and retired in June. At the time, we worked very hard to try to find her replacement. We have not been able to do so as of yet. The state allows us, with your consent, to bring her back before her 180-day wait period has expired. So we would like to bring her back to help out with some special projects, and then to hopefully help train whatever new person we actually are able to hire to fill her position. So this is senior system support liaison in our business IT department, and it will help just to keep our world running a little bit more smoothly. So I ask that you approve this resolution to allow us to bring her back. And this would be for the period of September 1st through December 31st. And she's also limited by her 960 hours for the fiscal year. So she's very limited on what she's able to work.
Questions or comments?
Questions. So I completely understand institutional knowledge. That's, sometimes irreplaceable. And I'm glad that she is willing to return for this special project. So I'm wondering, it says special projects. So would this, in bringing her back, would this delay the process of recruiting someone, or are you going to do it in tandem with bringing her back?
It's absolutely in tandem. We are actively still recruiting. The position is still listed on EdJoin. We have a couple of people that we are trying to paper screen in, do interviews as expeditiously as we can. We are, yes, absolutely still recruiting.
And then I noticed it is a maximum of 30 hours a week. And then there was two numbers that were given in there. One was 960 hours per fiscal year, which basically comes out to about 80 hours a month. And then, but in the actual resolution, or that was listed in the resolution, but in the memo, it said 560 hours max for September through December. So is that the intent, just to keep her for this period, or are you intending to keep it through the 960?
At this point in time, we're actually expecting just to keep her through December, but also in December, remember, that's when her 6-month waiting period expires. So then she would not necessarily need a resolution to work beyond that.
You're just looking for the resolution for that time.
Correct.
I'm just looking, I was looking for that 560 for the resolution, in the resolution versus the 960 hours fiscal year.
Right, so
So, yeah.
960 is all a retiree is allowed to
Yeah.
work?
No, I got that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I
and
was
it-
just looking for that 560 in the resolution versus the 900.
Got it.
All right, that was my question.
Any other questions, comments? How? Yes.
I just want to make the motion.
Yeah, go ahead and make the motion.
Okay, I move that the board adopt resolution 24-32 to bring back the government code section 7522.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. I do have one question. Help me understand, because I don't get why there would be a 180-day waiting period to begin with. So why is that there?
I think they want retirees to retire.
That's like a major
They don't
state.
want them to retire and then come back in that same position and earn the same money while getting their pension. So there is trying to do the break that I think they assume after 180 days, you've lost a lot of the current knowledge, not the institutional knowledge, but it'll be harder to ramp back up and go back right into that same position you were in. So it just depends on the positions and that we are trying to fill. But I think that was probably originally what PERS was working towards and STRS was working towards, is to just have a separation of, you are now retired, you can't step right back in and do the same job as a retiree to get your full salary and a pension benefit.
There's been scandals about.
Well, I think like trustee, I think it was trustee Williams mentioned, there's that knowledge, there's that experience, I think it's worth it, right? Yes, you can pay somebody who's just starting lower salary, but you miss out on all of that. Yeah, all of that knowledge, all of that experience. Okay, thank you. Thanks for clarifying that. We have if there's no more questions, no more comments, we have a motion. Can we get a roll call, please? Roll call vote.
Trustee Estrada, Trustee Van Allen, Trustee Williams, Vice President Sanchez.
Yes.
And hold on one moment. It's possible that President Roth is calling in. Let us see.
I'm trying really hard here.
President Roth.
6782. Can you hear me? I'm going to can you hear me?
No, it says that it's.
President Roth, if you would unmute on your phone, we may be able to hear you.
I don't.
Eve, it might be this.
Can't do it.
Maybe
Something's wrong
technically
with
on
my
our end.
system.
President Roth, are you signaling assent via the hand raise?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Next, we have our superintendent report.
Thank you so much, and thank you, Becky, for that report. Just a few updates. This has been a great start to the 24-25 school year. I've been out and about visiting our classrooms in our alternative education programs and soon as well our special education programs, and also visiting some of our districts kickoff events. Wednesday was the first day for PVOC, and that was the last of our school districts to open up. So all our students are in school, including my kids, starting at Diamond Cat, well, one of my son at Diamond Tech in PVUSD. I wanted to share with you just a few updates. CDPH in July updated the guidance for communicable diseases, including COVID. And they're very similar to what we've looked at in the past, including staying home if one has fever and for at least 24 hours without any medicine and with improvement in symptoms. We have seen some the reproductive rate for COVID at this point is higher than 1, and so we're continuing to look and watch the numbers of our attendance numbers and whatnot in our community, and making sure that we continue to be prepared. I did want to share with you that the governor and the state superintendent shared guidance for the schools to consider implementation of cell phone restrictions in school campuses, and this is something that has been gaining momentum. Most schools in Santa Cruz County do have some kind of restriction on the use of cell phones in the classroom, but I do believe that there is not a lot of consistency across the county, and even across school cases. But it is something that we're talking about. We're gathering information to look at what those practices are, and also looking at what some of these recommended models are that are taking place. We recognize that implementing them could require some challenges for our community to think differently about the use of cell phones, but the idea of them possibly being a distraction for students and having negative impacts is something that we're aware of and definitely looking into. The other area that has become of greater concern for us is e-bike safety. With the advent of an increased availability of very fast electric bicycles and an increase in the numbers of injuries that we're seeing, this is something that we are looking to continue bringing awareness and prevention of unsafe practices of e-bikes. I wanted to give a shout out to our educational services team, and Marcia, who's leading that team as our associate superintendent. We are working with school districts when it comes to, actually I just skipped right to the bottom I'll go back up here. Supporting districts and charter schools that are qualifying for differentiated assistance, and also several of our schools in our county that qualify for comprehensive support and improvement. This is something we'll be returning to you at some point to give you, because an important role of our ed services team is to work hand in hand in support of our school districts to identify areas of focus, to really look at ways that we can support their efforts to improve equity and excellence in our schools. And part of that is a countywide math initiative. Mathematics has been an area of concern when it comes to student achievement for not only schools in Santa Cruz County, but across the state and across the country. And the superintendents, in support of the County Office of Education, we are looking at implementing a countywide math initiative that would look at the implementation of the new math framework and help the school districts to develop a concerted plan to support teaching and learning of mathematics across the county. And so this is something, again, we will be bringing back with some more detail in the future. But we're very excited because we have all of our districts on board, very excited about this, and all teachers of mathematics, which basically is all our elementary teachers and all math teachers in the secondary programs who are going to be working on this, learning together, supporting each other, and looking at new resources and new ways to support our students to be successful and increasing their learning in mathematics. I did want to share that I got to go to a few district kickoffs, including the Live Oak School District and the Pajaro Valley Unified School District, and also got to be at the reopening of Pajaro Middle School, which was shut down since the floods. And in the school district worked hard to minimize the disruption to students who were affected by those floods, and also to rebuild a school. And it's a beautiful school with brand new facilities. They, I think, got down to the very bare kind of the skeleton of those buildings and built them up, and they look gorgeous. And I think the students who started yesterday are, I'm sure, very proud of their school. I did want to share with you also that I visited our alternative education programs over the last couple of days and have been to almost all of our classrooms. I still have I think 4 more left to go. And there's really a lot of excitement that is taking place, that we're starting more full than we usually are, which is, I think we're hoping that we're going to be seeing smaller numbers of students who are missing school. As you know, that one of the challenges for schools in Santa Cruz County and also again across the state is that not only are enrollment numbers decreasing, but also that the students who are missing school, at least 10% of school that number is between 20 and 40%, depending on which school district. And so all the districts, especially Live Oak and Pajaro Valley Unified School District specifically, have highlighted the importance of, one is increasing enrollment, and 2 is increasing attendance of students who are enrolled. And I think that's important for them, for those students to benefit from their educational programs, and important for the school districts to be able to bring back some of the students and families that have been impacted. And then finally, you may have seen in the news the launch of our dental apprenticeship program with Dientes. This is something that Sony Sanson has been championing in collaboration with the Dientes clinics. And so we met 8 new students, and for the first time, they're participating to become dental assistants. They're getting paid to participate as students, and they're gonna, once they complete the program, they'll enter Dientes with a position that pays over $25 an hour. And so this is something that is a model, I believe, that we need to continue to look at. And it takes funding to do this, and it takes participation from our medical community to do this. But I think it's a wonderful model that we're continuing to look at. And in the future, I would like to speak to you a little bit about some of the bond measures that many of the school districts are looking to pass in support of not only improving facilities, but also looking at teacher housing or educator housing. So I think the idea that the school districts are going to be taking on that responsibility to house their own as a way of overcoming the challenges of living in this community is extremely important. And I forgot to add this picture, but I did want to thank those of you that participated in the Stuff the Bus campaign. It was a wonderful, wonderful day. Between 2,500 and 3,000 backpacks. We're not exactly sure which number is closer. There we go. All right, Nick's got the clarification there. So 3,000 total backpacks that are being distributed to students, and it was a wonderful event and a great collaboration with United Way. 15 years that we're getting together. And we had lots of representation from our own COE community participating, and hundreds of volunteers, over 250, I believe, that participated on the day of. And so just a labor of love and wonderful success. And I'll open it up for questions at this point.
Nice. Thank you for sharing. Sounds like you always have fun. Like, can I tag along? I'd love to go on some of those visits as well. All right, thanks again, Dr. Sabah, for your report. Now we have trustee reports, and we'll start with.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah,
I forgot
go ahead.
the upcoming events. So sorry, Vice President Sanchez. I wanted to be sure to cover these upcoming events. This weekend, we're going to be at the YWCA for Pajaro Valley Pride on August 18th, which is on Sunday. And we're going to have a robotics open house down the street on the 8th and at Sequoia High School on the 7th. And this is to recruit students for our underwater team with X Academy. We've been having a Ag Tech Summer Academy this summer, which is going great, also in partnership with, of course, X Academy and Farm NG. And the Latino Role Models Conference is occurring on September 14th. And we're having a administrative kickoff with Juan Clark on September 23rd. And we would love it for you to participate in any of these events. And you'll be getting an email with times and some more details. Forgive the interruption.
No worries. Thank you. Trustee Estrada?
Yes, I was so sad that I could not go to the Stuff the Bus event because I had a planned trip up to Reading, but which I would have loved Stuff the Bus. I mean, Reading was just so hot and the fires and everything. It was a little crazy, but I was so glad to see. I saw the photos and it looked like you guys were having so much fun. I'm so excited. What a wonderful way to kick off the school year. And I guess the only other thing that I could report is I'm going to the CSBA conference right over in Monterey, so right next door. Um, so that's exciting. September 12th to 15th, I believe. Yes. Yeah, and gonna complete an ethics training and all the other legal requirements that board members have to do. So luckily, they have that bundled in as well. So looking forward to that.
Nice. I'm glad you're going. I know you'll definitely enjoy it. Trustee Van Allen?
Nothing much to report. I'm busy, so political things, but and I'm sorry again, I missed the Stuff the Bus. Heard from several people.
Thank you. Trustee Williams?
Yeah, so right after our last meeting, I family went on a vacation. And immediately the day after we joined Stuff the Bus and had the best time. I participated by donating, but never got to participate in person. That was so fulfilling. Everybody was having so much fun. It was a privilege to join and participate in that. Attended the COE all staff meeting. I'm sure some people might find that meeting, but I also had a really good, especially hearing from the students. I mean, the way you guys timed it out was so very inspiring. It was a great way for faculty and staff to thank you for that invite. Let's see here. And because no one else filed for my seat, I am with you for another 4 years as well. And congratulations to Edward because he is also here for another 4 years. I'm really thrilled about that, and we'll be joining with you.
President Roth?
President Roth has submitted some items in writing and has asked if
Nice.
we could read it
that'd be
for
great.
her. She participated in the CSBA ethics training and also is participating in the County Office of Education AI training, which is something fun. The agenda committee meetings to plan out the agenda for the board meetings, and was actively involved in the Stuff the Bus. And then wanted to let us know that Scotts Valley Unified School District has a bond issue for $76 million on the November 2020.
Thank you, President Roth. And my report also attended the all staff kickoff, and I don't know, it's I don't call it a meeting. It's like a party. I like it. So you get to meet everybody, and there's food involved, and there's music. It sounds like a party to me. Definitely enjoyable, I guess is what I'm getting at. So I was happy to be a part of that. Really happy to hear that some of the other trustees will be joining the County Board Member Services Conference in Monterey. It's really close by and very beneficial. Nice. It's very beneficial. You get to know what we do is so unique, right? Even amongst the school districts, you know, what the County Office of Education does is different. So it's a good group of people that you can vent to, express yourself and learn from. Definitely enjoy it. I definitely learn a lot, and happy again to hear everyone who's attending, and encourage anyone who is thinking to do so. And the last thing that I want to mention, and correct me if I'm mistaken, but I believe Inside Education, I have September 4th as the start date for that program. Not sure if there's still room, but anybody who hasn't taken part of it or wants to know more about the COE and our programs and what we do across the county, definitely encourage everybody that is interested to attend. They meet about once a month, and what they do is, they go to different school sites. They meet the staff of the COE, and they get to interact with some students as well. So, Mr. Larson, I definitely encourage you, if you're interested in knowing more, to check out Inside Education, and anybody else who might be interested as well. That is, that's my report. Item 10, ad hoc standing committee. Any reports, any actions? No? None? Okay. Reminder, our next meeting was September 19th, same time, same room, 4 p.m. here at 400 Encinal. And with that, this meeting is adjourned. Thanks, everyone. Good seeing everybody. I hope you enjoy the last days of your summer.
Thanks, Sue.
Thanks, Sue. Take care.